Rukus Avenue Radio.
So welcome to the Raj and Pablo show here on Rukus Avenue Radio. Firstly, can I say, whenever we know that Gopal Varna is going to do a film, there's always this high expectation that this is going to be incredible. So is this something mammoth we can look forward to?
I would say not so much about, me making a film. I think the subject matter of the underworld always fascinates anyone. But I think the uniqueness of D company is because it's the first time ever someone attempted to make a film actually and behind the rise of Dawood Ibrahim, directly naming him. I think, and he's been almost like a visionary, like for the underworld, like for what probably Bill Gates was for his thing, you know. So I would say that would be the interesting part, to see how a street goon actually managed to metamorphose his street gang into an international crime syndicate.
So, I mean, we'll talk about your fascination with the underworld in a little while. But in terms of, so you're introducing, it's D Company, right? You're introducing some new actors here.
Yes.
So tell us about I mean, you know, for those people who may want to get into one of your movies because they're fascinated by the type of movies you make, how do you go about finding your new talent? How do you know that this person is suited for your film?
See, pretty much in the script, when I kind of describe in detail the kind of character I'm looking for, the mental mock-up to the look, to the age and things like that. And then I kind of send a certain note to some casting agents is what I'm looking for in the context. So when I get various pictures and then we do audition, for example, for Dawood Ibrahim's character, I auditioned nearly 35 people, and who I thought I found to be the nearest in my head, in my way I was imagining this character to be, I tend to cast that person.
And so there's one thing imagining it, and then there's another thing with the airiness of your movie. I mean, and I can speak personally here. I know that when I'm thinking of your movies, I take myself through a process where I think, do you sit down and think, okay, I want it lit a certain way. I want it shot from above. I want it shot from beneath, because these are all they're big traits of yours in terms of your style.
Yeah.
So is this something you already know before you even start shooting?
Not necessarily always, but it can happen. See, sometimes just the location can inspire me, or something which happened, like when I see the movement of an actor, or something which is happening in the background. Or sometimes I could be very clear about it right on the writing stage, where I actually am looking for something to match what I already imagined. It can happen both ways. But I think over the years, because of my long experience, now I am not so particular about the fixation on exactly this is how I want it. I'm kind of open to it. I kind of, sometimes I might even ask one of my assistants or a DOP or DOP assistant, how do you think we should start this scene? It's interesting, they come up with something so radically different from what I imagined. So I quickly adapt, sometimes even to that.
So, and when you're taking a break and waiting for your next project, so to speak, are you kind of, reading the news constantly, thinking what's going on in that genre, what's happening in the world that could inspire me or give me a different take on movies that I've already been making?
See, pretty much I follow all crimes in the world. That as a genre interests me. This means it also the real life things what are happening, point one, and also the kind of films which are being made abroad in various other languages. Yes, definitely that too. And but more than anything else, the fundamental story idea. For example, like in D Company, the fact that a guy who didn't even have a very strong, I mean, it's not a tough guy. No one ever heard of him, beat up people and all that. A guy who comes into such a tough neighborhood and then him finishing the Patan gang just by his brains, that fascinates me. So then I kind of look at the character, how he dealt and how he spoke. That for me is of a fundamental interest, and everything else I derive it from that onwards. The shooting style, to the way the dialogue is written, to the supporting characters one conceives, all of that comes from the central aspect of both the central character and the central premise of the film.
So
Like, for example, there's
yeah.
a difference in Godfather and Goodfellas.
Yeah.
As you know, Godfather is very classically done, and all the actors are very dignified. The characters speak, the way they hold themselves, which is the exact opposite of Goodfellas, where they look like more street guys, their language and all that. I would like to believe Goodfellas probably would be more closer to reality in the way the American mafia functions. But why Godfather makes an impact is because the entire film has a personality. It is designed to create an impact rather than to show the realism. It appears real, that's it. But I don't think it's real. Like, in fact, in the words of Martin Scorsese, Godfather said it's like a mythological movie. It's not real. No one ever behaves or talks like that in the underworld, you know.
So do you think the fundaments of that movie, do you think the fundaments, like say of The Godfather, of the movie are essentially based on reality, but they're dramatized tenfold for entertainment?
I more than romanticize, I think it is the writers and directors' understanding of it which is coming, rather than them capturing reality the way it is, which is the fundamental difference, I think, between Goodfellas and Godfather. So there's almost a philosophy in that. You know, if you remember the famous scene in Godfather, when Tesho finds out that Michael Corleone has come to know and he's been taken to his death. He just says, tell Mike it is only business. I don't think in reality anybody would say that. They would probably start crying. They'd probably start falling on the feet and with fear. But I think that's what Mario Puzo, the writer, and Francis Coppola feel. Tesho would feel that or say that, you know. So it's almost their philosophy which has taken the shape of characters. It is their understanding which has taken shape. The characters has been designed to communicate their philosophy and understanding of the underworld rather than capturing it in real time.
Wow, that's definitely food for thought. But I think you're absolutely right there. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to D Company, what kind of feel are you emoting there with the new movie?
Yeah, so this for me, it's almost like, I would say it's a cross between Godfather and Company, my film, 2002 film, which I made with Ajay and Vivek. Why I say that is because it is not, though it belongs to 80s, all the characters are they've been books written about them, there have been documentaries made on them, they've been in the minds of many people in India. When you think of underworld, Dawood Ibrahim, Chota Shakil, Abu Salam, and all these guys. Yeah. So they almost become like mythical characters. So I was intending to capture them with the same awe. I'm like awestruck, which probably is a very different approach from Satya, because Satya, they're like normal people. They were like guys you see on the road. Yeah. The guy could be living next door. So the story of unknown people and not normal, ordinary people who just happens to be amongst us, which is what I would describe Satya as. Whereas D Company, for me, is it's like a mythological film. They all come with an inherent background music. They all come in shot in angles, and the intention is to create an awe. The intention is to just kind of sweep them away with the kind of people there. Like, when you read a Mahabharata, it is not really about one person. Like everyone, like Guru Shrav, he comes with a imminent. It's like, So I think it's like part mythology, part reality, part period. So I think it's a very strange kind of approach I took.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Been seen before. We're looking forward to it. We always look forward to your movies. But before you go, I've always wanted to ask you this. Is there anything you've ever read in terms of crime and, the underworld where you have totally been shocked And it's kind of one of those, I can't believe this really happened.
I mean, an incident or a happening.
Yeah, when you're doing research, say in reality, when you're researching and when you're kind of looking for subjects, is there anything you've come across where you've actually been totally shocked?
I think this is exactly what you're asking. Like, there's a certain time when someone do a contract to kill a person. Like,
Oh, wow.
it is like, assign someone to do a hit job. Okay, so that guy tried to use his influence and his contacts to get the contract cancelled. So he called one of the V company top guys, and negotiated with him, and then he said, "Okay, I will get the contract cancelled." So he called up the guy who gave the contract and said, "No, don't do it. Just cancel the thing, act." So he said, "Okay." And then after a couple of hours, this guy was shot dead. The guy who was supposed to be killed. So when the guy who got the contract cancelled, he asked the guy who gave the contract. He said, "No, I wasn't getting his phone." He was supposed to call him and said cancel because the phone was not available. That guy died. That's
goodness me.
So it's like, because it happens to us, all of us, in so many things, that you just want to say something and that guy's phone is off or it's not, something like that.
Yeah.
And but here you have to play with your life. That's, and also one more point of the underworld is, see, unlike what popular perception is, violence doesn't happen as much as what we think. It's eventually a business organization.
Yeah.
And violence is a sign that things are not going well, where they have to use some force to get things done. And like, for example, when the company was the most powerful, almost 97, there was rarely any violence in Bombay. It's only after the split between Dawood Ibrahim and Chuta Rajan, a vacuum came. So a lot of other gangs were trying to vie for the top spot.
Yeah.
And so that competition, which caused the extreme cases of extortion and killings and violence. So, but when you're in control, there's no violence. That's the whole point.
But so can I just say, it has been an absolute honor and a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so, so much, and best of luck with the movie. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Rukus Avenue Radio.